Hello and welcome to this video. Now, thanks to one of you, my lovely viewers and commenters, I got the idea to actually make resin eyeballs for this month. I think it was a comment on the accessory pixie box that I got that said that one of the extra leftover spheres I made was looking kind of like an eyeball, and that gave me the idea to actually use that for this Halloween month. Now I'm gonna start off with the back part of the eye, and I'm just gonna use a pipette for basically almost everything just to make it really even. And once that's cured, I'm gonna add a slightly larger layer of resin, which will have this like yellowy, orangey kind of tone. And I'm also gonna add that with a pipette. Now I kind of wasted the larger pipette for the small black dots, because later on I found my stash of small pipettes, and these are just really handy for things like that, because you can dose the resin really well and see how it like moves around, and you get practically no bubbles if you're using resin from like deeper down in the container that you mix it in, and if you of course let it sit a little bit. And that's what we have so far. Now, to make it look a bit more gory-ish, I'm gonna try to make some like vein lines, or at least some veinish looking lines, like with some toothpicks and just some UV resin. And I'm gonna mix in some like dark orange and dark red, but in clear, just to make it look like, you know, a little bit more see-through. And then I'm going around using my toothpick to like make some thin lines, curing those, and then just going around, just saving my progress. And this took actually quite a while, but luckily the UV resin doesn't take too long to cure, so I could save my progress. And then I just poured a layer of white, which I didn't film because I was pouring things for another video too. And here are the eyeballs. I think they looked really good. Now I got some red into the yellow part of the eye, but I think that makes it look even more like realistic in a way. Now some of the like side veins that I tried to like paint on kind of didn't turn out that well, but that's okay. I guess if I didn't want this translucent look, I guess I could have used something like just some normal acrylic paint and painted on, but I really wanted this translucent look. I think it definitely is working out quite well. And then, as always, I was struggling super hard getting out the last eyeball, and by this point, like, this mold is so done at the top of it. It's like the opening of it is totally ruined, but I will still use it. And this one also turned out really nice, but does have a lot of bubbles in the back, sadly. But that was kind of expected, because I couldn't really like use heat or anything, because the mold at this point is so old. If I would, it would have fused with the top. And then I wanted to, you know, make it displayable. I just didn't want to have loose eyeballs. Of course you can make them into like a pendant or something like that, but I really wanted to make a decoration item this time. And these will also help me like fill up the like tiny gaps the eyeballs have in the back. Now in a perfect world I wouldn't have these, but yeah, world is not perfect, so we're gonna cover them up with just some Fimo, and I'm using colored Fimo this time, just to make my life a little bit easier. Now, resin has a different like temperature point, I guess, than Fimo, so like I put it in the oven before on lower temperatures and nothing really happened. I couldn't smell anything, my like air purifier thing couldn't actually really sense anything. I wouldn't advise it if you're like constantly in a room next to it, but since I have like an extra small oven where I've just put in my polymer clay creations, I actually feel confident enough to put resin into the oven. You know, just make sure to, if you actually use an oven that you put food in, to like really vent it out. But yeah, I don't know if resin actually does something in the oven. I just always use that other oven that, yeah, it's never been used for food and will never be just a crafting oven, which is really handy to have. Just a like small cheap pizza oven that can go like, it doesn't really need to go that high. Like most polymer clays cure at like 130. I think the highest I had was like 170 degrees Celsius, and yeah, once they're cured, you know, you can leave them in there. It doesn't really need much space if you don't do too many large sculptures. If you do, of course, use your normal oven, but yeah, if not. Just a cheap pizza oven, if you have one, is really the way to go. Plus, it kind of saves a bit on energy, because you don't need to eat a large space if you make small sculptures. And yeah, all I did here was kind of trying to texture the things that whatever connection points of the eye that I made with these wormy dealies with my ball stylus, just to make them look a bit more gory, you could say. I didn't really go for realism that much. One thing that is very apparent when it comes to resin and clay is that resin is very slippery, and the clay might just, slip off and not stick too well, so actually getting thin details is really hard. Clay on clay is a bit easier, but yeah, since I'm working with resin here, I had to kind of negotiate the clay to work, and that's the best I could do, basically. And then I'm just gonna use some longer wormy dealies to make tentacle-like things, put the eyes a bit more how I want them, texture them a little bit more, just to make them, have a bit more visual effect. And afterwards, the last thing I'm basically gonna do is I'm gonna brush on some of this liquid Fimo. It's basically a clear drying liquid Fimo that you can use, and it will seal everything. And then the reason I'm using this is because since I didn't really, besides some of the surface texturing, bond these wormy dealies together, I have the fear that some of the tentacles, especially on the bottom, might break off over time. So I just wanted to have something that really flows into the cracks and bond it together. And afterwards it was time to put this in the oven. Freshly out of the oven, it looks really well. I had some slight overpaint of the liquid Fimo, which is okay, I can just peel that off later. And all I want to do is give it some more contrast, so I'm gonna use some just lighter washes to make it look a little bit more, I guess, gory, and a little bit more it has variation. So I mixed up a slightly darker red than what the clay had, and then an even darker red after I wiped that off. It's basically just a wash that I wipe off in the end, and then afterwards I'm going to use some high gloss varnish, just some acrylic varnish that I very liberally apply on top, and that's gonna be making it look like it's a bit more liquid. And this is the result. Honestly, I'm really happy. Contrast looks really nice. The goriness of the effect of the main things on the eyeballs, and how the wormy dealies connect to the eyeballs, I think turned out really well. I love the tentacles, and it actually stands really well. Now there were some slight imperfections when I put the resin in the black of one of the eyes, but that's okay, you cannot really notice it. And of course, after applying the coat of liquid Fimo, the texture of the eyes didn't really stay as glossy. I guess I could put another layer of smooth top coat on top, just maybe some high gloss nail polish varnish or something like that. It would surely make it probably a bit more glossy looking, but at this point, the eyeballs aren't really inside the sockets anymore. There's no like tear ducts that can lubricate him. So I'm just gonna say this effect is actually wanted, and they're slowly drying out. Hence also why they are a little bit more red. So overall, this project was a lot of fun. I got to try out something new, and I think you can make actually a lot with these eyeballs, like make different colors and all that. Make maybe like decoration that you can hang up. And of course you can use these like tricks to make eyeballs for like dolls and all kinds of stuff that you want to actually use eyeballs for. You know, not just like half spheres, because that's what most people tend to go to. And I think, like, overall, it's a very simple process. It just takes a little bit of time for the resin to cure in between layers. And as you can see, like, my black purple pupils turned out a little bit large, so maybe make them a little bit smaller than you think. But yeah, overall, very, very simple. Would definitely recommend as a Halloween decor if you're a resin lover and want to make something special. But that's all for today's video. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of this project. Do you think they look scary enough? Would you actually make something with them? Like, would you make eyeballs and then use them for another project? And if so, maybe tell me what, if you're like immediately having any ideas. I always like to have a creative like sharing of ideas and projects. I think that's what keeps this community thriving. And I also really enjoy all of your comments on if you actually have tried projects and your other project ideas, or like even just answering questions for if you guys wanna try a project but don't know how to go about it. I think this creative flow is really helpful to a lot of people, including myself, and I just thoroughly enjoy it, so a big thank you for that. This community has grown very wonderfully and I absolutely love it. Anyways, I hope you have a great day. See you next time. Bye bye!